Hello and welcome to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi dated 8th May 2026. Here we have taken up important news and article from the Hindu and Indian Express newspaper and segregated our discussion into two parts, that is analysis and prelims pointer. The first topic in analysis section is related to Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, that is AMOC. We are going to cover how climate change is impacting this crucial ocean current, and in turn how this change is going to have long-term consequences for weather patterns in world over. The second article is related to traffic accidents. As per the NCRB report, there is a rising trend in the traffic accidents. So we are going to cover the facts, findings of this report. Alternatively, we are also going to cover the factors behind this persistent rise in the traffic accidents and some way forward. Both of this discussion will be followed by mains practice questions, so stay tuned. The topics for prelims pointers are listed here, which will cover important and relevant information from the perspective of UPSC examination. So let us begin our discussion. So the first topic of today's session is the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. Now this article talks about the changes in the climate, that is global warming, and how it is impacting the AMOC, which is a key ocean current. And it says that earlier estimates were different, but recent estimate says that AMOC and its flow will slow up by 59% by 2100, that is end of this century, which has potential to add to the devastating consequences for weather system as far away as the Indian subcontinent. Important from the perspective of GS paper 1 that covers the geophysical phenomena, as well as GS paper 3 which talks about the climate change and its impact. So in this discussion we will be focusing into the ocean currents, especially the AMOC. What are the changes, what are the causes of concern, how it is going to impact the AMOC, and how in turn AMOC is going to have devastating consequences for weather system all around the globe. So the first thing, what is ocean current? So by definition, ocean currents are the continuous, that is regular, predictable, that is you can clearly tell the direction of movement, that is directional movement of sea water driven by various factors including gravity, wind, Coriolis force and water density. Now there are some forces, there are some factors which cause this ocean current to start and to have this direction, that is predictability and directionality. So let us cover the factors first. Factors responsible for the origin of the ocean current and the modification of the ocean current. The first factor is insolation. Now insolation is the energy of the sunlight that we are receiving. How it impacts the ocean current? It warms up the water. The moment it warms up the water, the volume of the water increases. Volume of the water increases, that means the level of water increases to an extent that you will find that in lower latitude where effect of insolation is more, water is 8 centimeter higher than the higher latitudes. So warming, volume increases, and this increases the level of the water. Now in lower latitude the level of water is high, in higher latitude the level is low. Now it creates a flow pattern, a gradient, a pressure gradient and a directional gradient towards high pressure areas, high latitude areas. So in turn ocean current starts moving from low latitude to high latitude due to this insolation and resulting increase in volume. The second factor is gravity. Now gravity alone, the quality of gravity is to pull something down. Now whenever this water gets piled up somewhere, now naturally the gravity will pull it back. Second, if water is dense at the surface, gravity will have tendency to pull it down. Both ways, gravity creates a motion in the water which is surface current as well as the subsurface current. It gives effect to. Best example is, you can see the counter equatorial current. So what happens? So these equatorial current, under the influence of the planetary winds, that is trade winds, they get piled up around the eastern coast of South America. Once they get piled up, the gravity pulls them back. One of the factor is gravity. So it takes shape of the counter equatorial current. Similarly, the thermohaline circulation, that is density in the higher latitude increases, gravity pulls it down and the water sinks, again giving a conveyor belt model. Next is the planetary wind, mainly associated with the surface current. How does they affect the system? Basically with the mechanism of friction. So winds blow through the surface of water, they cause friction, and with this friction they take water or they push water in their direction. You can see the best example, as we have seen already, in the equatorial current. So if you can imagine the southeasterly and southwesterly trade winds flowing towards equator, merging here, so they give rise to water from east toward west. So because the wind direction is this way, that is the trade winds on both sides of the equator. So again, they give rise to the ocean current. They kind of decide their direction. Best example is north equatorial and south equatorial current, which move from east to west under the influence of the trade winds. Next is temperature. As we have seen, the insolation affects the temperature, volume, directly with the mixing of water and the nature of the land, because land has a low specific heat, so it takes lesser time to get warmed up or to get cooled, and other factors include insolation, mixing of water. But similar to the insolation, the temperature directly affects the flow of the current. So let's take example of thermohaline ocean current itself. So when temperature reduces, water gets the density of water increases. The colder water is denser than the warmer water. Warmer water are lighter, so colder water denser. Now density will drive water downwards, that is subsidence will be there, and this will give rise to the subsurface ocean currents. Then comes the salinity, exactly similar, directly related to the density itself. So salinity increases the density. More saline water, higher will be the density. Higher will be the density, the subsidence will increase, and that is how they again give birth to the subsurface ocean currents. Then comes the Coriolis force. It is more like a modification force. So what it does, similar to the wind, it turns ocean current clockwise in the northern hemisphere and anti-clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Best example you can see here with the Gulf Stream and North Atlantic Drift. With the Gulf Stream and North Atlantic Drift, they are turning towards turning in the clockwise direction, finally merging with Canary and then North Equatorial Current. So in turn, Coriolis force also is also a causative factor behind making of a gyre, that is a huge circulating system. But if you will see in the southern hemisphere, you will find that the same Coriolis force is turning currents towards the left direction, that is the counterclockwise direction, again creating a gyre but in a counterclockwise direction. Now another the factor which modifies the ocean current is the geographical orientation. So these factors, they do not work in silos. They work together and they have this cumulative effect on the ocean current. So again, a modification factor is the geographical orientation. How come? Say this, the Horn of the South America around the Brazilian coast. Now you can clearly see here that south equatorial current coming in and north equatorial current coming in and getting bifurcated due to the very shape of the coast. Similar thing you can see here in the Asia also, where Philippine and Japan island is shaping the direction of the movement of Kuroshio current. Similar is the case with the North America with Gulf Stream also. So these geographical features, the geographical barriers, they modify the direction of the ocean current. Now these were the factor which have decided the origin, how ocean current will be originated and how it will be modified. Now moving further, let us understand their types. So based on depth, there are two types, that is surface current, which is the top layer up to 400 meter and mainly driven by the planetary winds and modified by the Coriolis force. It generally influences the climate and navigation and climate of area where they are flowing through. This constitute majority of the oceanic water movement in the world, while the deep water current is below this layer, that is below 400 meter, and it is mainly driven by, as we have seen, is temperature, salinity and density gradients. So higher density, water will subside; lower density, there would be an upwelling. So this is the basic thing, and this forms a part of thermohaline circulation or thermohaline global conveyor belt. So what is thermohaline? Thermo means temperature, haline means the salt content. Thermohaline, both together they are forming a conveyor belt model. What is it? A simple conveyor belt. You might have seen that a roller is there, so conveyor belt moves like this. So if you have gone through a belt carrying luggage or any industry where coal is being transported to plant or any material is being transported to plant, so you will simply keep your the desired item or the you can say the coal or the luggage here, and it will be transported through this conveyor belt, and then this conveyor belt will subside and move as the, you can say, below the surface level, again back to the origin, and then again it will upwell. Just understand this as part of ocean current, then again it will come up and move on the surface. In a similar fashion, this thermohaline circulation works, and this is why it is called the global conveyor belt. And AMOC is one of this deep water thermohaline circulation. Another type is based on the temperature, warm currents and cold currents. So warm current, as the name suggests, they move from lower latitude to higher latitude. So lower latitude, higher will be the temperature. So whatever water is moving from higher temperature to an area where temperature is low, this water will be relatively warmer. So if you can see here, the Gulf Stream moving from lower latitude to higher latitude. Similar is the case if you will see, don't get confused with this, see the Norwegian current. See the location, see the latitude. It is flowing in a higher latitude, but still it is marked as warm current. Why? Because it is moving water, it is transporting water from low latitude to high latitude. So relatively water will be warmer in this area, relatively. So again, these are the warm current, and they transport water from low latitude to high latitude. In turn, they have a warming effect on the area where they flow, and they raise the temperature of the adjacent area. And one peculiar thing, if you will see the mid latitude, if you will see, you will find that warmer currents are on the eastern margin of the continent. Here the Kuroshio current is there, here Gulf Stream is there. So you will find even in southern hemisphere, if you will see the Brazilian current, the Agulhas current or the East Australian current, all warm currents in the mid latitude are on the eastern margin of the continent. While situation reverses once you will go to the higher latitude. Here you will start witnessing that warm currents are making the western boundary of the continent. Here you can see with the Norwegian current, western boundary, Alaska current, western boundary. Okay, so western boundary, while eastern boundary is being bounded by cold current. Here you can see Oyashio is there, here Labrador is there. Now, coming to the cold current, if the just reverse of the warm current, these currents, they originate in the high latitude. So from a lower temperature to a higher temperature, obviously they will lower the coastal temperature or the temperature of the adjacent area. And peculiar thing again is, in mid latitude, they will form the western boundary of the continent. See, Canary current, California current, you can or in the southern hemisphere, Peruvian current, Venezuela current, or the western Australian current. They all form the western boundary of the continent. But the moment you will go to the higher latitude, you will find that they are forming the eastern boundary, Labrador, Greenland, Oyashio, the eastern boundary of the landmass. So please remember this fact, very important from the perspective of prelims. And this is the general pattern of the ocean current, and now you have understood that what causes the ocean current to origin and get modified, and what are the types of the ocean current. Let us now understand the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation. As I told you, this is very important circulation, type of thermohaline deep ocean circulation, primarily in the Atlantic Ocean. So what is happening here? The Gulf Stream, the North Atlantic Drift, warmer water is going here. Warmer water is going to the higher latitude. Now here, by reaching here, there will be mixing of fresh water from the Arctic region, fresh cold water. Now temperature will be reduced. Plus, with the getting the temperature getting down, salinity also increases. Salinity also increases because if temperature is low here, so water will convert into ice, and this conversion into ice will leave salt behind. So out of the water, now one portion is ice, the remaining salt is saturating the half of the water which was available. So salinity will go high, temperature will go down, definitely density will go up, and this water will subside here, and will start moving as a subsurface or deep ocean current. And again it will witness the upwelling in the southern part or the lower latitude, and it will again come up. So kind of a conveyor belt model is created through this. But I have told you that this is primarily in the Atlantic, and that is why the Atlantic Meridional overturning circulation. Why overturning? Because it is overturning the water from lower latitude to higher latitude as a surface current, and from higher latitude to lower latitude as a subsurface current. So it is overturning, mixing the water. But as the case with the most of the climatic phenomena, things are similar with the ocean current also. Ocean current and the air circulation system, including the jet stream, atmospheric circulation, ocean current, including the jet stream, they all are interconnected. Simple reason is because the origination of these atmospheric circulation is because of pressure gradient, temperature gradient, and dynamically induced pressure belts. And since ocean covers a large part of the earth, these gradients will be monitored, regulated, or controlled, or widely controlled by the temperature, salinity, and the movement of the ocean water. So these two systems are interconnected. Simultaneously, this is the circulation in the Atlantic system is very well connected with the circulation in the Indian Ocean as well as in the Pacific Ocean. So now you need to understand, if this is a circulatory conveyor belt model, what is the significance? Why we should be calling it a crucial ocean current? First thing, that the transfer of heat. So what it is doing, it is taking the warm water, hot water, or the water which is having higher temperature to the high latitude. So it is transporting heat through this ocean current. So distribution of heat is being done through this conveyor belt. So just imagine, if you will disturb this, then what will happen? Heat will remain accumulated here. It will not be distributed. Temperature in the higher latitude will be lowered subsequently to a level where it becomes unsustainable to bring back to the normal temperature. Right now we have read that whenever the warm current move to an area, it moderates the temperature of the adjacent land. So it has an impact over moderation of temperature in the Western Europe especially. So if you will compare the areas of Western Europe with that of area of Labrador in Canada, same latitude, this is milder and moderate, while this is very cold, very cold. So the major factor is this AMOC, which brings in warm water and moderates the temperature. So first is the distribution of heat energy. Second is the moderation of temperature. Then, as I have told you, and we will cover that in the next slide, every phenomena, geophysical phenomena, oceanic current and atmospheric circulation, they are all interconnected. And these AMOC and is very well connected with the ocean current and thermohaline system in the Indian Ocean as well as in Pacific Ocean. So it is very important to have a stable AMOC, because the moment it gets disturbs, it is going to disturb this circulation in Indian Ocean as well as in Pacific Ocean. And what would be the result? Simple. Heat distribution will be weakened. So the equatorial areas will become harbor of higher temperature because of the accumulation of warmer water, while the northern part will become gradually much colder. So the temperature will go down in the higher latitude subsequently, while the temperature in the equatorial area or the tropics will increase gradually to a level which is going to become unmanageable. Now this rise in temperature is going to affect the weather phenomena. We will cover that in the next slide. Next is the thermohaline circulation. If you are circulating something, what you are doing? You are doing mixing of nutrient. The term is ocean ventilation. So carbon dioxide is getting absorbed, getting sequestrated. So again a key role in the carbon sequestration. Once you will weaken this cycle, carbon sequestration will be weakened. More carbon in atmosphere, more global warming, so it will create a positive feedback loop. So more warming, more weakening of AMOC, resulting into even more warming. Then the nutrient, it mixes the nutrient from bottom of ocean, because bottom of ocean is resource, is all about resources and nutrient. So it brings up the nutrient rich water to the surface water, kind of creates a circulating, a pump system which gives the water its desired nutrient for its living organism. So it will be disturbed. Then the sea level. Now we have spoken about the temperature and the resultant rise in the sea level. Now just think of one thing, one simple thing. If this conveyor belt is performing or working in a very optimal fashion, what it is doing exactly? It is causing movement of water consistently. Now once this movement will be slowed down, what will happen? Accumulation of water, because this movement will get sluggish. Once this accumulation starts, you will witness a sea level rise, especially in the eastern part of Northern America, because now the movement of water has been slowed down. So again, These are the factors which is why AMOC is important. These are the functions that AMOC regulates, and that is why it is important. So what is the cause of concern? Cause of concern is the recent study. So earlier estimates said that they suggested that there is roughly around 15% slowdown in last 50 years. 15% slowdown. Now, if talking about the slowdown, just for your understanding, try to understand one thing. This is not a regular water supply in your pipeline. We are talking about a thermohaline circulation, which is itself is sluggish, very slow. If you can read here, vast amount of heat is being transported or redistributed across the globe, but pace is very slow. So single cubic meter of water takes about 1,000 years to complete its journey. So if it is starting from higher latitude, 1 cubic meter water, it will reach again to that point in around 1,000 years. So speed is already sluggish, which is doing so many ecosystem service. Now, the new study says that this circulation, which regulates the climate, is going to slow down by 59% by 2100. Now, the another issue is the climate change, global warming. What is happening? Due to climate change, Arctic ice is melting, adding fresh water, more fresh water. With addition of more fresh water, the balance between this freezing and converting into ice and rising the salinity, it is getting disturbed because more fresh water is coming in, diluting the salinity altogether. So temperature aspect may be the same, but the dilution of salinity will result in lighter water. Lighter water means it is hard to downwell or subside, and downwelling will be weakened, and again causing towards the slowness of the or sluggishness of the AMOC. So these two factors are concerning because they are calling it climate tipping point, because after a threshold, it may shift irreversibly into weak sluggish state, which will be extremely difficult. The recovery will be extremely difficult even if temperature later stabilizes. So even if global warming is arrested, but once you have caused the damage, if you have reduced the speed, the slowing down of AMOC has taken place, it is irreversible practically. So that is the cause of concern. And what other is the cause of concern? Why there is cause of concern, that how it is going to impact? Reason is very simple. The first is the climatic impact. So the moderate temperature of the Western Europe will be disturbed. So cooling of the Western and Northern Europe will take place. Heat distribution will be adversely impacted, and the southern hemisphere, the lower latitude will be the center of higher accumulation of heat, while the higher latitude will become center of lower temperature. So it will affect the rainfall. And other climatic phenomena. So again, this abrupt change or this blockage or is slowing down of the temperature distribution or energy distribution will cause climatic instability. How? Let us see. El Nino and Pacific system. Now El Nino, we know, if you will take Pacific system, consider this part as Asia, while this one as South America. This is Pacific Ocean. The normal condition is warmer water here, and here due to upwelling colder water. But in El Nino condition, what happens? Situation reverses. The cold water upwelling ceases to happen. Now here you will see warmer water of the South American coast, while here the temperature will go down. So warmer water in central and eastern Pacific marks the El Nino. Now, if we are saying that the circulation will slow down, the heat circulation, heat transfer, definitely this temperature, it is going to contribute towards the rising of the temperature in the central and east Pacific. making El Nino phenomena highly erratic, unpredictable, and more intense. Then the monsoon. Now, monsoon is closely related to ITCZ, movement of ITCZ, intertropical convergence zone. Now, heat is accumulated around equator. It is not moving up. So, all these climate belts, all these rainfall belts are getting saturated or limited nearby equator. So, movement of ITCZ will be affected, which develops in the northern India during the time of monsoon, and which creates a low pressure system in the northern India, which causes the onset of monsoon. Now, if this belt is not moving north because of the heat accumulation in and around equatorial region, it is going to impact the monsoon adversely, and thus the agrarian economy like India are going to be impacted adversely, including the food security as well as the water security. Sea level impacts. I have told you how it will impact sea level. The consistent flow of water around the eastern coast of Americas and western coast of Europe will be disrupted. So this flow will be disrupted, therefore more accumulation of water and rising of the sea level. Then, due to this complex phenomena of ocean current and atmospheric circulation, the extreme weather events, their frequency will increase and intensity will also increase. Lastly, the ocean currents are very vital for the nutrients and the migration of the marine organism. If AMOC gets disrupted, this nutrient cycle will be disrupted. The sluggishness of the ocean current will impact the migration of the organism, which is going to affect the ecological and overall the marine ecosystem. Lastly, the carbon cycle. As I have told you, once the density will be reduced due to inlet of the mixing of the fresh water, density reduction, lower downwelling, then the locking of the carbon sequestration in the bottom of the ocean will be reduced, and it will create a positive feedback cycle. So that is why it is being said that AMOC, effect on AMOC will have a long-term devastating consequence in and around globe, including Indian subcontinent and as far as the Pacific Ocean and areas around the Pacific Ocean. The only solution lies in the arresting of the global warming and various factors. So the way forward will be simple, like the way forward, the suggestions that you have for arresting the global warming will be suitable for the AMOC, and that is why here is the practice question. The weakening of AMOC represents a major climatic tipping point. Examine the statement with reference to global climate stability. A 15-marker 250-word question. Try to attempt it. The next news article is based on this report which featured in this report which was brought in by the NCRB, that is National Crime Records Bureau. And it says that 546 people die daily in traffic accidents. So important from the perspective of GS paper 3 and GS paper 2, infrastructure and government policies and intervention in different sectors. And this report says that in the year 2024, there were 1.99 lakh people who died in traffic accidents. Traffic accident, this includes the road traffic and accidents related to railways, railway accident or crossing the railway line, or the crossing the railway gate or falling from railways. So basically road traffic and railway traffic is covered in this. And this year in 2023, it was 1.98 lakh. So there was a 0.79% rise in the number of dead. So what are the key highlights of this report which you can use in your answer? First thing, that it is not just loss of human life or cost to the family, but it has a socio-economic cost, because once these traffic accidents occur, they cause burden on the healthcare. They damage the infrastructure. They result in loss of productive manpower and Altogether, they affect the GDP, and effect is not small. The socio-economic cost of road crashes alone amount around 3% to India's GDP. Further, the number of traffic accidents, we were talking about death, that has increased to 1.99 lakh. Number of accidents have also increased from 4.91 to 4.95 lakh. Top states are Uttar Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra. Moreover, the NCRB also says that this death, the traffic accident death, is counted as a part of larger exercise which is done under the heading of accidental death. So traffic accident is part of the counting under accidental death, and in this accidental death, where there are some other factors like sudden death, drowning, falls, poisoning, electrocution, accidental fire, all these are covered under this. So in accidental death, the percentage of traffic accident is around 42.6%. So majority of the accidental death are due to the traffic accident. Further, out of the 1.99 lakh traffic, this is important, out of the 1.99 lakh death in traffic related accident, 1.75 lakhs, around 88% were due to road accident. So in the year 2000, the year 2023-24, there were no death related to rail accident, but 88% is due to 88% is due to the road accident alone. However, in railways also there were death related to falling from the train, a moving train, or crossing the railway line, or walking on a railway track. All these categories are there. But in 2023-24, there was no railway accident which has caused loss of life. Furthermore, in road accident, two-wheelers accounted for most of the fatal accidents, followed by pedestrian, then cars. Next is very interesting feature is fall from trains category. Most deaths have been caused by in the state of Maharashtra, mostly in the suburban rail network, highlighting a very crucial point that most this planning and this behavior is lack of planning and lack of safety related behavior etiquettes is causing death in the suburban rail network. So most of the people are trying to onboard or deboard the moving train due to the high crowd, due to the you can say overcrowding. People are traveling on footboard and they are falling and getting dead. So most of the rail related, fall related death came from the Maharashtra, especially the suburban area, while the railway crossing accidents were highest in Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, and Kerala. So these were the highlights from this news article. Let us focus upon what are the factors of this rising and persistent level of the traffic related death. First is the road infrastructure deficit. Now what is it? There are some engineering deficit. First is if you are traveling on a road, it should be scientifically designed and construction should be done scientifically. What does scientifically mean? So there should not be a blind turn. You might have seen videos about newly constructed highways where you have sudden bumps. So car goes flying over these bumps, and many a time this causes severe accident. Concrete road have another issue of the high temperature, the absorbing character of concrete, which raises the temperature of the surface of road. And if you are traveling with older tires, it is going to burst and it causes several accidents on road. So scientifically constructed road with proper design, proper plantation, proper signage which is lacking, and mirrors to look in the on the blind turns will help reduce the fatalities. Now there are some black spots also. So generally the black spots or the black spots are known as where the accident rate is very high. So there would be a stretch of 100 or 500-meter road where the accidents are, the frequency of accident is very high. And reason is very simple. This has been engineered poorly. But what you will find, you will simply find a board that this is this is accident prone zone, go slow. That's it. No other reinforcement, no CCTV, no police personals, no ambulances, no cranes, nothing. No divider, no speed braking mechanism, just a board. So these are the factors which create these black spots remain, you can say, spot of death for many. And then you will find crash barriers and footpaths are missing in the road. So especially in hilly areas or in plain areas where there is a turn, crash barrier is a must, so that cars or the vehicles do not fall, or even if accident has occurred, these barriers will stop them from toppling into the side valley or farming land anywhere. So you will find that there is a lack of crash barrier and footpaths. Plus, the design of the road is such that and enforcement is such that pedestrian, heavy vehicle, cars and bikes, everyone is moving in this on the same road. There is no traffic sense, the congested lanes are there, proper planning has not been done, everyone is fighting for their space, and no regulation. So many a times this road infrastructure deficit causes the accident. Second is the behavioral aspect, that is over speeding, rash driving and poor lane discipline. So crisscrossing the lanes, over speeding, this has become the major and most you can say important factor. Do not use the term important, most you can say prominent factor in causing the road accidents. Then comes the safety culture deficit. So everyone is apprehensive of wearing helmet. Even if they are wearing helmet, these are not up to the safety marks. They are wearing it just for the sake of the regulation. So the quality of helmets are poor, and most of them they don't prefer to wear helmet, seat belt. They have such a reluctance in using the safety gears and the safety culture. Then there is prominence of drink driving, and then mobile phone use is another factor which is distracting the driver. And the wrong side driving, especially when you have a long divider for safety. So what people will do, people will take up their car in the wrong direction so that they don't need to go for a longer distance to take a U-turn. So they will take a shortcut and take a wrong direction, so again causing the accidents. Then the pedestrian negligence, certainly the air marked area or the marked area, they will not use that. Even if they are using that, pedestrian area is also being used by various vehicles, bikes, cars. So again, there is no segregation between what part of road should be used by whom. Then related to railway tracks, despite foot-over bridge and railway gates, people prefer to cross the railway lines up till the last moment. So train will be whistling, guards will be warning, they will be whistling, but people will not listen to it. So foot-over bridge is there, but nobody is willing to cross through that. They all will cross the track. So lack of safety culture is another feature. Then the urbanization. So number of vehicles have increased rapidly, but the infrastructure has not. This resulted into congested cities and the heavy traffic during the peak hours, and everyone is in a hurry, and every day one or another accident you will witness if you are roaming through the city, metro cities or any big city. And then related to railway, there are informal settlement around the railway tracks, which again causes some behavioral aspect and some error, and you will end up losing the life. Then the suburban rail dependence, and again metropolitan cities, peak hours, huge crowd, and as has been case with the Mumbai we have seen that people are trying to onboard or deboard while in a moving train, or they are traveling on a footboard because of the crowding. So it is better to have automatic gates and some personals who will be guiding or regulating the number of people who can board a train or deboard a train. Then the weak emergency response. So in case of any accident, the most important thing is the response, how fast the emergency services are reaching to the victim, saving the golden hour where they can be saved, which is very poor. The ambulances will not reach quickly, cranes will not reach quickly, and even if they will reach, they will be lacking the desired equipments, and that is why they cannot serve the purpose. Then even if patient reaches to the nearest trauma care center, you will find that medical apparatus, doctors, or the medicines, anything can be missing or not up to the mark what is required. And then there is very poor coordination between police and hospital. Many a times it takes a long time for police to reach the spot. Even if police reaches the spot on time, there would be a poor coordination with the hospital staff, so patient or the victim will be lying on a bed waiting for the treatment to start. Lastly, the railway related unmanned crossing. Government of India has been moving positively towards eliminating the unmanned crossing, but still there are some gaps, and many a times due to urbanization, due to illegal construction, there is a poor visibility for the driver of a moving train as well as driver of a driver who is trying to cross the railway track. So at the very last moment they will see each other, and there is no time to apply the brakes and save the lives. And lastly, the grade separators. So a grade separator is where you will create a bridge or a tunnel where train can go over the traffic or can pass through a tunnel, or the traffic can go over the train. So there is lack of grade separator, and even if you will make a grade separator, still you will find people who will try to take a shortcut and will try to cross through the older or existing roads which were earlier there. So these are the factors due to which these numbers are increasing and are persistent. Now, what Government of India has done? Government of India has brought in the Stringent Motor Vehicle Amendment Act, National Road Safety Policy, National Road Safety Board. It has created for the policy recommendation. Then black spot rectification program, then NCAP, Bharat NCAP rating, which is crash testing for the safety standard of the cars, intelligent traffic management system, good Samaritan guidelines, Kavach for the railways to avoid the collision, unmanned railway crossing elimination, as I have told you, road safety awareness campaigns by the district administration and police, integrated road accident database, so that data backed policy formulation can be done, and national highway accidental relief services scheme. So government is doing its part, but again the accidents are a mixed bag of the behavioral aspect as well as the technical aspect. So both the stakeholders need to take it is not just duty of government to bring up laws, regulation, making infrastructure, but if you will keep flouting it, you are going to pay the price. Now, what can be done, as has been suggested by the Sundar Committee on road safety? Sundar Committee had suggested the National Road Safety Authority, which it suggested both at central level as well as state level. It also suggested that it should be making policies and regulatory framework for the construction and operation of the road. Plus, it should have a stronger enforcement authority so that it can penalize someone who is not adhering to the regulation. Plus, it had also suggested about scientific crash investigation plus road engineering. Another committee important was Kakodkar committee, which was related to railway safety, which suggested the modern signaling system as early as possible, renewal of track systems so that track related derailing and other issues related to track failure should not be there, anti-collision technology, which is being used now, has crossed the test at trial level Kavach, which we have learned about, and the independent safety regulator for looking after the safety of the railways. Again, we should be applying the WHO safe system approach, which says that humans will make mistake. What transport system should be doing, it should be designed so mistakes do not become fatal. So roads should be made forgiving. More impetus should be done in the engineering and implementation of regulation, because humans will make mistake. Then engineering reform should be taken up, better pedestrian infrastructure, cycling lanes and grade separators near crossings should be a must. Behavioral change should be brought in so that road safety education in schools is strong deterrence against violation. So high penalty, high challan amount should be there. Then public campaigns should be run on a more frequent basis. It should not be just about road safety week, road safety month. It should be a regular affair. It should be a regular affair. And then the automatic doors in suburban trains where they are not available, AI enable intrusion detection on tracks until and unless the entire tracks are not covered with barricading and barriers, fencing of urban rail corridors, Footover bridge and subway should be made at rapid pace, and crowd management system should be brought in, and personnel should be trained in to manage the crowds, especially in the peak hours or the peak time of the year. Then AI based speed monitoring, smart signaling and drones should be used for surveillance and monitoring, and kind of constant flow of the traffic. Then trauma care, like the quality of trauma, the integrated emergency response and faster ambulance dispatch should be ensured so that golden hours can be utilized and lives can be saved. Based on this is your practice question. Examine the major causes behind high number of death due to traffic accidents in India. Suggest a multidimensional strategy to address the issue. A 15-marker, 250-word question. Try to attempt it. Now, the first topic in the prelim section is related to the Kalai to Hydel project, which is being constructed on Lohit River in Arunachal Pradesh. Now, important from the perspective of prelim as the drainage system and species in news, because this news talks about the white-bellied heron. So, what is the news? THDC, that is Tehri Hydro Power Development Corporation, has sent a proposal to Forest Advisory Committee of the Environment Ministry for diversion of 869 hectare of semi-evergreen forest. But this proposal does not mention that this area which they are asking clearance to clear, this semi-evergreen forest, is home to a critically endangered species which we know as white-bellied heron. Now, this project is in Anja district in Arunachal Pradesh, bordering China, and runoff river project on the river Lohit, which is tributary of Brahmaputra. Now, it is habitat of the critically endangered white-bellied heron, which is the IUCN status is critically endangered, but it has also been accorded the highest safety status, that is Schedule 1 under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Another issue is that the compensatory afforestation for the loss of forest is being proposed in Madhya Pradesh, and Arunachal government has given its consensus or the permission to do the compensatory afforestation in Madhya Pradesh. It has said that a state that Arunachal is a hilly and forested state with forest cover more than 2/3 of the geographical area. So afforestation is not required and you can shift it to Madhya Pradesh. Another issue which is there. The project has already received the environmental clearance from Environment Ministry's Expert Appraisal Committee back in December 2025. So these are the issues related to this news article. What is important from the perspective of prelims is the drainage system Lohit River. So it is a left bank tributary of Brahmaputra. It originates in the Zyalchu range in the eastern Tibet, and left bank tributary of Brahmaputra, as Brahmaputra originates in the Chema Yungdung glacier in Kailash range, Mansarovar, and while flowing eastwards or southeastwards in Tibet, it is known as Sangpo or the purifier. It enters India by creating a gorge near Namcha Barwa mountain range, and it is known as Siang or Dihang. Once it moves and reaches to the west of the Sadia town, here Lohit River and Dibang River joins Brahmaputra, Siang River. So Siang joined by Dibang and Lohit. Now this river is called Brahmaputra. Major tributaries are, the left bank tributaries are Dhansiri, Kopali and Burhi Deheng, while the major right bank tributaries are Subansiri, Kameng, Manas and Sankosh. While Teesta is another tributary, but it meets Brahmaputra in Bangladesh, where it is known as Jamuna. So Teesta is a tributary which meets Brahmaputra in Bangladesh, not in India. Plus, as we have seen that this is home to the white-bellied heron, and this proposal has not mentioned that this is a critically endangered species. So this is second largest living species of heron. The largest is Goliath heron. It is also known as the imperial heron. It is an indicative species which tells about the health of the rivers, environment, fish population and water quality. Habitat includes the wetlands of tropical and subtropical forest in the foothills of the eastern Himalaya. Apart from eastern Himalayas foothill, it is also found in Bhutan and northern Myanmar. The dietary habits include predominantly it is fish, which is found in river rapids. Habitat loss, increasing disturbance and habitat degradation due to conversion of wetland for agriculture and expansion of settlement is the main cause of the threat. IUCN status, as I have told you, critically endangered, while 1972 WPA, that is Wildlife Protection Act, accords highest security protection under Schedule 1. The next news article is related to Santa Marta Conference. Important from the perspective of prelims, as environment conservation has been mentioned, and this is a new initiative by countries, and this initiative is different from the initiatives under the UNFCCC. So what is Santa Marta Conference? Basically, in whatever the climate related deliberations that happen around the globe, they happen under the umbrella of UNFCCC, and we call it COPs, Conference of Parties. Okay. But these conference of parties or COPs, they work on the principle of consensus. So all the parties, when they will agree, only then something will move forward. And this consensus creates hurdle. So many initiatives are lingering to see the light of the day. They are delayed. There are negotiation. There are kind of no consensus also. There are fight. There are no headway. So consensus aspect creates hurdles. So many like-minded countries, basically 57 like-minded countries who wanted to take climate action, or basically moving away from fossil fuels. That is the main agenda of this Santa Marta conference. So moving away from fossil fuel toward the renewable sources. So these like-minded countries came out, and they came up with an idea that we don't want to get stuck with this consensus model. Rather, if we want to take action, we will take action in our countries. So it was held in Santa Marta, Colombia, and it was hosted by Colombia and Netherlands jointly. These 57 countries, they represent 50% of global GDP, and it works outside the UNFCCC, and its outcomes are not legally binding. The aim is to identify and deliberate upon a strategy for gradually reducing and ultimately eliminating the use of fossil fuel. Now, there are many remarkable features. First is the countries which are participating. So countries like Germany, Spain, but also the developing economy like Brazil, while the smaller economies like Nigeria and Nepal. So this shows the cooperation across different economic levels. But major thing is that countries like United States, China and India, they did not participate. And it also has established an international scientific panel on energy transition, which is complementary to IPCC, but with a dedicated fossil fuel phase out mandate. So only job is to work upon or study upon the fossil fuel elimination. This conference was held in last week of April 2026. The next conference will be held in 2027 in Tuvalu, which will be co-hosted by Ireland and Tuvalu. Now, what author has highlighted regarding this particular issue. So author has highlighted few important things, that US-Israel war has exposed the fragility of global economy dependence on imported oil. Now, those who were adversely impacted by this global supply chain disruption, they are trying to move. They are expediting their process to move toward renewable sources. But simultaneously, the countries which have oil, which he calls the big oil countries, they have accumulated large windfall profits due to this crisis. So billions of dollars they have earned, which they will use to lobby, litigate, and delay in transition. So on one side, there are victim countries or sufferers who are trying to move away from fossil fuel, but there are big oil countries which have gained so much capital that they will use it to block this transition. So this is the conflicting position. Another issue is that the push towards the new renewable energy will require copper, lithium, nickel, cobalt and rare earth. And global south is home to these elements, while it is the technology and money is with global north. So he says the workers and frontline communities in resource-rich developing countries, they have their labor exploited and their environments destroyed to manufacture the green infrastructure to sustain the lifestyle of global north. So he says that transition out of fossil fuel is non-negotiable, but structurally unjust transition is unacceptable. Also, he talks about India should join this initiative and should be attending the 2027 conference. Again, an important news article related to environment conservation. Again, a Rajasthan PSU, which is the Rajasthan Rajya Vidyut Utpadan Nigam Limited. It has again applied, seeks a clearance to cut the 4.48 lakh trees in Chhattisgarh forest, which is known as Hasdeo forest or Hasdeo Arand span in the district of Korba, Sarguja and Surajpur. Now, Why it is important? It is unfragmented forest. Many sources say that it is largest unfragmented forest tract in the central India, the Hasdeo forest, and it has spread around the Korba, Sarguja, and Surajpur district in the northern Chhattisgarh, and it is home to Sal forest, which is given accorded the protection under Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, and it is also catchment of Hasdeo River and Bango Dam, and forests are considered a vital resource for tribal community. But as of now, it is very important from the perspective of elephant corridor also, plus also the tiger corridor is being it is considered as part of extended part of the tiger corridors also. So this is the main tussle that coal block should be allocated or not, and these many trees are to be allowed or not. They're cutting these many trees. So important from the perspective the Hasdeo river, and because you know that Hasdeo river is the main river channel which feeds this particular valley or particular forest area. So it originates in the Sonhat in the Korea district of Chhattisgarh. It is the major tributary of the Mahanadi river. Mahanadi river, which itself originates in the Dhamtari district, Sihawa hills in Chhattisgarh, and left bank tributary, if you will talk about, is the Sionath river, Hasdeo river, Mand river, and Ib river, while the right bank tributary includes Jonk, Ong, and Tel river. So right bank and left bank, very important dam, that is Hirakund Dam in Odisha, in Sambalpur, has been made over this particular river, and it is one of the largest earthen dams in the world. So this was important from the perspective of prelims. The Hasdeo Arand forest, and the Hasdeo river, and the principal river which the Hasdeo is tributary of. Now another important news which is related to again the climate hazards or the environmental conservation, and it is related to oil spill hazard. Now Kerala is planning to bring in the oil spill contingency plan to tackle the oil spill. Recently two shipwrecks of the coast Kerala have caused heavy damage to the coastal ecosystem because of the oil leak. So we will be taking up the oil spills and its impact. Basically, the oil spill is the release of the oil petroleum product into marine, coastal or inland water bodies. Basically crude oil which is being supplied, diesel, bunker fuel which is used in the ship, or other hydrocarbon, anything which splits due to the tanker accident or leakage in tanker, offshore drilling, or the pipeline rupture, leakage from a storage facility. So it rapidly spreads over the surface of water and causes severe damage. So first thing that this covering of the surface affect the surface dwelling marine organism because of the oil contamination. Oil sticks to the seabird's feather and destroys their waterproofing capacity and thermal insulation, often causing hypothermia and drowning. While other organisms like fish, shellfish, and other marine invertebrate experience impaired growth, reproductive failure, and developmental abnormalities because of the oil blocking the sunlight and their own birth above the water surface. So it impacts them adversely. Alternatively, it also impacts the coastal ecosystem like mangrove, coral reef, salt marshes, and this all gets covered by this oil, again impacting their regular metabolism activity or the phenological activities. Recovery from major oil spill can take several decades because it is very hard to remove, very hard to degrade, and the toxic hydrocarbon, they can enter the food chain and undergo bioaccumulation, which will ultimately reduce the overall biodiversity. Now, there are several methods of handling the oil spill. One is the biological method, that is bioremediation, where microbes like cycloclasticus and Oleospera is used, which naturally break the oil pollutant. Then the containment booms are there, so you will cover the spill so that it will not go beyond that boundary. Skimmers are there, so mechanically you remove the surface oil using the skimmers. Sorbents are used, which natural or synthetic absorbent materials are used. They soak up and absorb spilled oil. Dispersants are also used, which are chemical in nature, and they fragment oil into tiny droplet to accelerate their biodegradation, but they can adversely affect marine ecosystem also. In situ burning, again, you can opt for controlled combustion, but again the demerit is it releases toxic fumes and pollutants. Best methodology is the bioremediation, and other mechanical process like containment boom skimmer and sorbents are better than the dispersants and in situ burning. Now, this is the 75th year to mark the reconstruction of the Somnath Temple in Gujarat. And that is why it is in news, because Prime Minister Modi is going to attend the function of this 75th year of the reconstruction of the temple. Important from the perspective of history and culture. Some basic information related to the Somnath Temple. It is dedicated to Lord Shiva, located in the western coast of the Gujarat state in Saurashtra, Prabhas Patan near Veraval. And it is first of the 12 Jyotirling, pilgrimage to this site, the historical records show that it has been continued since ancient time because of the Triveni Sangam of three rivers Kapila, Hiran and Saraswati. And timeline can be traced back to 649 BC, but some estimates suggest that it is older than that. It has been reconstructed several times because it has been the center of attraction for various invaders, notably starting with an attack by Muhammad Ghazni in 11th century, where they have not only looted the temple but also destroyed. So every time it was reconstructed. The present structure, which was curated after the independence, is based on the architecture is based on Chalukya style or Solanki style, or also the Maru Gurjara style. Maru means Mewar region of Rajasthan, and Gurjara means Gujarat type of architecture. So it is mix of both, commonly known as Chalukya architecture or Solanki architecture style of Hindu temple, and it was completed in the May 1951, and this year marks the 75th anniversary of the reconstruction. So that's all for today's session. Stay tuned for more such update. Thank you.